brother. Hi, you guys. Thank you very much for coming out. I'm sorry I'm late. I know I cost you billions of dollars by being 5 minutes late here, and that the economy of the world will turn on this. It's exciting to be here at Jujel, and we were at AOL the other day, and it's a ghost town over there, I want to tell you that. It's exciting to be here. I don't know who you are either, and that's the exciting part. I wrote a book because I have a podcast called The Smartest Man in the World. Yes, it's a joke. I don't think I'm the smartest man in the world. A friend of mine said to me a couple of years ago, "Do you know how you come off?" And I said, "No, I don't know how I come off." And he said, "Like you bloody know everything. So you should do a podcast where you take questions and brook no dissent." So that's how it got the name and jazz like that. Does anyone here ever listen to the podcast? 2 people. That's awesome. So... But I'm sure you're aware what podcasts are because you work at Google, and you wouldn't work at Google if you didn't know what a podcast was. Do people have their phones on during these kind of things? Or I assume you have your phones on at all times because that's where all your friends are. Living in that imaginary world. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I feel awkward being here. A very interesting performing venue. What do you usually have here? Like drone fights or something? I'm not... It's the bizarre metal bars that lead the way down that make me feel like something's going to break out at any moment and that there could be some shit that goes down. And I'm looking forward to that. I guess maybe I should read something from the book if I haven't convinced you so far that I actually am a comedian. I don't know how loud this mic is or if you can even hear me. My hearing's kind of faulty. So I wrote the book, and it's about all the things that we talk about in the podcast, like feminism and drugs, vodka. Thank you. You're allowed to laugh. I'm supposed to be funny. Please laugh. This isn't a cookbook. If I get less laughs than Padma Lakshmi, I'm going to kill myself. And art, literature, ancient history, baseball, and music I like, records I like, books I like, poetry. Yes, there's poetry in here. I know that when you work for Google, sometimes poetry can seep right out of your life, and I'm here to imbue it back into you in this book. We weren't able to use all the poems I wanted because they cost money, but we put a lot of poems in that are in the public domain that are still quite beautiful and jazz like that. We're going to do questions in a minute, but let me read you a couple of things. I asked for a podium, but I didn't realize I was going to be behind Darth Vader's console here and hiding back. I wish you could see this part here. There's 2 monitors and a bizarre gooseneck mic and then some cables that make no sense to me whatsoever. I wonder if I lick the end of one of them and stick it inside me, whether the festivities will be more festive and when my hair lights up. Let's see here. I'll just read you something from it. Oh, there's a lexicon, a Prooptionary of words that I wish would disappear and other words that I advise people to use. For instance, let's start there. In the Prooptionary, we've got words is all we gots, right? Let's see. I tend to speak in old-time jive because I'm old. And so I call people cats, and sometimes I'll go like, this cat came to the show, and people are like, what do you mean a cat came to the show? And I'm like, we allow animals, but I mean a man or a dude. So here, I define cat, noun, not the one with 4 paws. Picture Miles Davis. Now picture him walking away from you. That's one mean cat. In a sentence, man, that cat, Ornette Coleman, is nuts. Thelonious Monk. Feminist, a misunderstood word. Feminism is simply the idea that men and women are equal and should be treated like equals. For some men, this is truly terrifying, like being disagreed with or told no. There exists a male rights movement. This is a non-starter. Men have all the rights. Somebody needs to learn to share. In a sentence, people call me a feminist whenever I express sentiments that differentiate me from a doormat or a prostitute. Rebecca West. Oligarchy, there's a word that you hear on the news all the time and in the media. And I wanted to define it because these words get bandied around and no one ever tells you what they mean. And people wander through their whole lives never knowing what these actually mean, oligarchy and plutocracy and things like that. A government in which a small group exercises control, especially for corrupt and selfish purposes. This could never happen. Go back to sleep. Polybius, the Greek historian, said, monarchy degenerates into tyranny, aristocracy into oligarchy, and democracy into savage violence and chaos. That about sums it up here in America, I think. The savage violence and chaos. Plutocracy. You hear that one bandied around. In a country that is ruled by the richest people, the most accurate word currently in our possession. Ramsey Clark, I noticed the uneasy laughter on that one there. I assume we're being watched at all times here. Let's see here. Here's a good one. Freedom. The power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. This term is overused by people who do not believe in it. It's rarely practiced in real life. Freedom is quite subjective. Most people find it a bit too much responsibility. Governments and large institutions like to put parameters on it so everyone will feel comfortable with not having to think for themselves. This is from Ambrose Bierce's Devil's Dictionary. A political condition that every nation supposes itself to enjoy in virtual monopoly. Liberty. The distinction between freedom and liberty is not accurately known. Naturalists have never been able to find a living specimen of either. That was a joke. Let's see here. I say groovy a lot, and I know a lot of the kids here think that's real arcane. But I grew up in the 60s. I mean, I wasn't a teenager in the 60s. I'm not that old. I was a child in the 60s. I barely remember it. Groovy, adjective. Anything or anyone. Any scooch that rings your chimes, floats your lifeboat, rubs your kitten, or bangs your shiny bronze gong. Groovy is associated with kitschy 60s cliches like bell-bottoms and headbands, but groovy was before and will always be. A groove is a good thing to be in. When you don't have the groove, well, it is hard to move. In a sentence, so I show you how to use it. I loves that ambient jam. It is so groovy. It would be so groovy if you filled that bong again with the Cushberry Crunch. Man bag is something I use a little too much, but I think you'll get the idea. The pouch where the jewels are kept. Pejorative as well. Be tender with its usage. In a sentence, why does this movie osculate man bag? That would be in reference to any movie that the Green Lantern is in. Who brought the man bag beer? Was it that gimme cap over by the kiddie pool? Man branch. I think you'll follow on this one too. The disco stick, the candy twig, the Tootsie Pop. The appendage men focus on to the exclusion of all other things. Where the action is, the Blissmas tree. Co-pilot. Yeah, thank you, I wrote that. I was pretty happy with that one myself. Co-pilot, kickstand, love mop, little bro, the obelisk. In a sentence, this is how you would use man branch. Thou villain, I invite you to take a beefy, nourishing bite of my man branch. This is the one I wanted to get to, though, because I think it's useful. People overuse the adjective Orwellian all the time. And nobody has ever read 1984, or people have skimmed it or whatever. But you know the plot of 1984. It's a futuristic society where we're being watched at all times by the government. So now it's not a futuristic society anymore. It's kind of our society. We're in an endless war with an unseen enemy that'll never end, and anyone who's against you is a terrorist, and Big Brother watches you all the time. So it's kind of like now. Anything that is in opposition to a free society, in reference to George Orwell, author of 1984. Overused by those who have not read Orwell. 1984 is what people like to call a dystopian novel. The fallacy there is that dystopias are imaginary places where people live in fear. Orwell is dead, but rest assured he's spinning like a bobbin in his grave. Bobbins are on a sewing machine. I'll be explaining everything as it goes along. Are you on your phone or are you live tweeting this? Because if you're live tweeting this, I'll dictate to you. Greg's sexual power was undeniable. As he stood there, I was reminded of a jungle cat that gave off emanations of testosterone. My ovaries started clanging like sleigh bells, and I went off like a volcano in Iceland. That's over 140 characters retweet. Love, noun. We all knows it when we feels it. Most humans are striving for a semblance of it. In our current era, love is on the ropes, what with sexting, pornography, boy singers, and furries. I mean, I'm down with the idea of dressing up like a stuffed animal to have sex. It's just the smell. And isn't it sweaty? What do you wear? I mean, how much talcum powder can you put on? So confusing in so many subtle variants. It's cool to love roller coasters, but hard to love vultures. One may love fudge, but hate brownie eaters. Love can hurt and be in vain, but still the most sought-after feeling. Love is why we are here on Earth. The problem is that hate is easier for lots of individuals than love. It feels more comfortable, and huge groups can do it better. Plus, you get to carry poorly spelled signs and wear hoods and whatnot. Loves is the smartest book's favorite usage. In a sentence, oh, my kittens, that leather jacket. Loves, I loves you, I knows. Let's see here. This is the one I wanted to read you. It's at the very beginning of the book. There's no table of contents, I noticed, to my dismay, when the book was published. I had many chances to go through the book and amend it and rewrite and, what do they call it? Edit? But I'm a comedian, so I was busy getting high and being in Hawaii. So I didn't. But then I noticed the book came out and there was no table of contents. There is, however, a list of commandments at the outset that tells you what's going to be in the book. And there's movies, poetry, Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige played in the Negro Leagues. He was a baseball player who played before the big leagues were integrated. Yes, there was a time in America where black people were treated like second-class citizens. It could never happen again. Music, there'll be no whining. There'll be art. Let's see here. And then we'll spell woman with a capital W. And I just wanted to read a little bit of this, and then we'll go into the questions, I think, or if I can find something else that's humorous, I'll read it. You should be, Greg. It's your book, and you wrote it. Well, get off my dick. We will spell women with a capital W. There's a movement by all men in the world to make sure women don't get a fair shake. Men yell at women from cars. Men deny women equal pay. Men tell women to smile. And that one really gets me because has a woman ever come up to you, gentlemen, and gone, hey, smile. You're too cute in that flannel shirt and the beard not to smile. Nice package. You delivering that for UPS? And yet men feel free to do it to women all the time. And then men do things like wear phones on their belts and expect people to talk to them. Men wear phones on their belts, and then they always have a rationale. They're like, oh, it's convenient. And you're like, yeah, it is. For forming an anti-pussy perimeter around you that no pussy can permeate. No woman has ever looked at a man with a phone on his belt and gone, oh my God, I bet he can answer a call whenever he gets one. It's more like, I bet that his grandmother's basement where he lives is so commodious. He must play World of Warcraft to the frosty dawn and have all of the Harry Potter figures. Yeah, guys wear baseball caps out at night. Really? Why don't you just wear a t-shirt that says, I have roofies? Because that's what the baseball cap is saying. The baseball cap is saying no means yes and yes means anal. That's what the baseball cap is telling everyone. Am I to understand that you're a gangster from Park Slope? Is that what's happening? That you've rolled into town and you're going to be who-banging with your crew 4 deep, skeeting at all the fly hose and smoking blunts? Is that what I'm getting? That you're going to wet me with your jammy if some shit goes down? I've never understood the baseball cap at night. It's really, wow. You don't really see women wearing a fucking hard hat when they go out with their girlfriends. But they should, because that's the kind of men they run into. That's not in the book, but it is funny. Men enact laws to keep women from health care they need. This is not an opinion, this is fact. For instance, I believe that a woman dreamed the universe into existence, and that's why it's called the Big Bang Theory, because only a woman could have had a reverberation so profound and so cataclysmic that the very fabric of the cosmos was born out of that. If a man had given birth to the universe, it would be called the disappointingly early theory. And every galaxy would be the Milky Way. And by the way, this isn't a theory, this is a fact that I thought of. The reason is women dream the universe into existence. Women give birth, men take life. If a man had done it, yeah. Men can only give birth to sacred bullets through their Viagra-assisted man shaft. Women deal with the pain of childbirth. Men act like they have diphtheria if they get a cold. We all know Columbus and George Washington, but who's taught about Sojourner Truth or Susan B. Anthony, or Shirley Chisholm for that matter? Women in the United States could not vote until 1920, then only because they demanded it for years. Any advances women have made, they have done by organizing and being better at everything than men, just to be recognized and heard. They have to. A few things to ponder as you seek to improve and enlighten yourself out of the depths of your ignorance. Germany, New Zealand, Argentina, India, Chile, Brazil, Pakistan, the UK, Ireland, Canada, and Australia, and I'll add Switzerland in there as well, to name but a few, have had women leaders. The USA has not. Women, as of right now, dominate publishing. J.K. Rowling is the most read author on earth. Telling a woman to smile is an imposition and a demand you have no right to make. Don't use the term old lady as a pejorative. You hear that all the time. It's like an old lady. It was like weak like an old lady. I cried like an old lady. Old women raise the world and know everything. They're anything but weak. When you go into a bar or restaurant, notice if a woman's servers are made to wear hot outfits. Consider which places make men do that. When was the last time you went into a bar in New York and it was called Willie's and dudes were walking around with jock straps with butt plugs in? You know what I'm saying? But you can go to any number of bars where women have to skate around in miniskirts or whatnot so the guys can go, I'll have the wings. Victoria's Secret has a TV special. Calvin Klein's men undies do not. Women are the majority of the workers in the world. They don't get equal. Oh, you don't have to turn that up. Was it me or did the lights go up? Or did I just hallucinate that? All I can offer you is the truth. If you take the blue pill, you'll go back to where you were. Let's see here. Women are regularly, this part's hilarious. Women are regularly assaulted, raped, beaten, abused, murdered, sold, and disappeared everywhere. That means in America as well. This is not the top story in the news ever. It's my assertion that if women were looked after and made equal and there was some sort of parity, that would solve all the problems of the world. I'm not sure why everyone doesn't see it the way I do, other than everyone does have no vision and I have progressives. Thank you. Progressives are the glasses that... because, you know, when you look at, let me put it this way. When it's as easy to get an abortion as it is to obtain a gun, then you can tell me there's equity in the world. And the reason why it's so easy to get guns is because men love guns, because men want guns. But guns are to protect our safety and freedom. That hasn't really happened yet. I've never feel safe when guns are around, and I don't feel like my safety or freedom is protected. Guns are for men to kill people they're afraid of, as far as I can figure out, and for the rich to get the police to kill the poor on behalf of them. Thank you for laughing at that. I appreciate that. It is a joke, and it's also true. Let's see here. There'll be good drugs and good times. We talk about drugs and drink in the book. Light one up and pour one down, and let's all get together and put on wings like Icarus and see how high we can go tonight before the horrible flaming demon sun that man made out of this hideous nuclear agenda burns our delicate artistic wings and sends our sensitive behind spiraling back to the ground like a burnt McNugget full of regret. Or let's just horse around until something funny happens. And if you're clean and sober, hooray for you. Be a lamb chop and go get the corkscrew. Oh, and fill the ice bucket as well, will you, darling? You can drive everyone home later. I think we've had enough reading from the book. I know I have. Does anyone want to do questions? I think there's a microphone. Do people have to go over to the microphone, or is someone going to walk around with the microphone? Oh, they have to walk up to it? Oh, okay. Will people walk up to the mic? Or actually, you don't have to. You can just yell it out. This is a pretty small room. No one has any questions? You're going to let me stand here for... There you are. Well done, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to Google. Clearly, you don't get enough chance to do stand-up and improv comedy, but I've loved following your improv before.
Thank you.
What are you enjoying doing most right now?
The podcast is my favorite thing to do, although I'm really enjoying this book tour because the chance to talk about yourself endlessly and how clever you are is a rare opportunity to feed my ego. And of course, if you're a comedian, there's that particular quirk of having the gaping void where a personality is. And instead, I want the shallow love of strangers. Every 15 to 30 seconds, I demand their approval. And it's a particular kind of sickness. But I love the podcast most of all because it combines improvisation, which I usually riff it, and then I can go into the boring preachy part where I talk about all my poison liberal politics, and I don't have to get a laugh every 30 seconds. When you do stand-up, there's a real demand that you get a laugh every 30 seconds because the audience, you know, that's what they're there to, and they have every right to expect it. They paid money for that. But with the podcast, I can stretch it out a little bit more. And also, we've had the chance to go all over the world. Like, we did a podcast in Brooklyn last night. Brooklyn is where you guys live. And then we're in Philly, which is where some of you are from. And then we're going to Chicago, San Diego, Portland, San Francisco. Last year, we were in Amsterdam, Stockholm, Helsinki, Paris, London, Edinburgh, Toronto, Montreal, you know. So it gives me the chance to go around the world. And it's because of the magic of the interweb and the smartphone You don't have to be on telly anymore and all that. There's that immediate connection that we all have because of the instantaneous nature and the on-demand nature of putting out a podcast. People listen to it in their car or when they're walking their dog or whatever they're doing, and in any country all over the world. So I found that technology is a fantastic boon to comedy, and that the personal nature of the podcast, it's like a phone conversation. Many of you have had them. Most of you just text now, but you know what I'm talking about. What I mean is the intimacy of talking to someone's ear, and because I don't think of it as a giant group of people, I think of it as talking to individuals, and that's what's made it so profound for me. I talk about poetry a lot on the show and drugs, and people give me books about poetry and drugs, and it's really nice. Sometimes at the same time. Thank you for asking. By the way, Whose Line is back on, if you were wondering. It's on the CW now, so if you like vampires, we're on your network, baby.
But
I don't know what night of the week it's on, but it's on one of them. And it's still all of us. It's the bald guy, the black guy, the tall guy, and me. Thank you. Yes, sir.
As a man who knows everything, does that mean you have a rivalry?
Are you speaking for yourself, or are you addressing me?
As you. So do you have a rivalry with John Hodgman, who also believes...
Oh, not at all. No, John and I get along really well. His neck beard is a little off-putting, but no, he's a judge of everything. There's a big difference. I adjudicate from time to time, but mostly I just pontificate. And so I'm happy to have him sit on the Supreme Court of Comedy. And if it was my choice, he would be Associate Justice. I wouldn't make him Chief Justice because he's a man. But I love John Hodgman. He's very funny. I don't know what he does, but it's wonderful. Well, that concludes the question portion of the show. I'm going to stand here awkwardly and stare at you for the next half hour now. Does anyone else want to ask a question? I'm happy to answer them. I really am. There you are. Hi.
Hi. First of all, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. That is correct.
Your podcast
And humble. Fuck.
shows that you're essentially a Renaissance man. You're interested in a lot of different topics. So how did you decide what topics you were going to put into the book out of the sum of total of history, I guess?
Thank you for that question. It was very difficult to choose which ones, but I knew that the initial ones would be books and records, movies. And my wife and I do the Greg Proops Film Club as well. We show pictures movies. I told you I talked in jive. Motion pictures. We show pictures every month in Los Angeles at the Cine Family. And a lot of the movies that we talk about on that podcast are in this book as well. It was the ancient history chapters because I tend to draw analogies all the time between ancient Greece and Rome and now. Ancient Rome was embroiled in a series of wars in the Middle East and Afghanistan that destroyed their empire and their slave culture and their lack of forward thinking and their belief that all other foreign cultures were barbarians and that they were the superior culture in the world and that their Senate was bought and sold, paid for rich oligarchs who were working at the behest of the emperor. So you get the analogy. So I wrote these Leviathan chapters on Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great, and my editor Matthew is here today. We cut them down. They were a gajillion words long. So that was one thing. And then there was a few other, I was always talking about stealing art. My wife and I were at a museum in Paris called the Marmottan. And it was a fabulous museum. It's full of Monets, right? And all these beautiful French Impressionists. And there was an open window and a parking lot right there. And I was like, Jennifer, I'm going to have a petit mal seizure. And you grab a picture off the wall and throw it out the fucking window, and I'll meet you downstairs in 5 minutes, and then we'll get a bus out of here. And I thought it would be that easy to steal art. So I started talking about it on the show, and then I realized it's a very shaky slope to encourage people to steal fine art. And so I don't encourage anyone to steal art unless your plan is foolproof, in which case, meet me outside. I'm in a van. It has a horse painted on the side, and I answer to Miguel. But that's how most art is stolen. So I didn't know how to approach that chapter, and Matthew said to me, why don't you call it 10 pieces of art I wish I had the balls to steal? And so that's how that got in there. So that was kind of the process. And it's one of my favorite chapters. And I only chose pieces of art that are so large you couldn't possibly steal them. Let me just read you one here that I think is my favorite one. El Mundo Mágico de los Mayos by Leonora Carrington. It was at the Museum Nacional of Anthropology in Mexico City. Leonora Carrington, blah, blah, blah. Because every single one of them is how we're going to steal it, what the piece of art is, and the chances of success. She was given a commission to do a mural about the pre-white people history of Mexico and went to Chiapas to study the area. She was introduced by the anthropologist Gertrude Blom to the curanderos, or healers, from the awesomely named town of Zinacantan. That means the land of bats. They normally didn't do their thing for outsiders, but Ms. Carrington had such a vast knowledge and respect for mysticism and healing, they let her sit in. She studied the Popol Vuh, or People's History, which is the Mayan sacred book of mysteries before the conquistadors. From this, she painted the magical world of the Mayas, which is enormous. The painting resides in Chapultepec Park in Mexico City, so we should take a shamanistic dose of psychoactive mushrooms that we have bought from a lady named Carmelita we met in a bodega. We get too high and start to freak, so we stop for refrescos at a stand. The afternoon is still, and we can hear children playing, so your sense of dread abates somewhat, and we sally to the museum. There, in the warm glow of altered perception, we become overwhelmed by the astounding colors and fantastical motif. Imbued with a sense of belonging to the universe, we abandon our notion of physical theft and decide to have an unlikely escapade in a brightly colored cab. Later, when we're coming down, we have seafood enchiladas and revel in our refound sense of cosmic morality. So goes the flow. Chance of success, mythical, like the lizard god returning. So you see that we don't actually steal things in every single part. Sometimes we just get high and ride around in a cab. This is my favorite one, though. And this was given to me by a drugged-up friend in Montreal. I was working there last summer, and I told him I was writing a chapter on stealing art, and he said, "What about George W. Bush's paintings?" And I was like, well, where are George W. Bush's paintings, and how does one steal them? Paintings, George W. Bush, in 2010, Dick Cheney's fridge, Wyoming. George W. Bush was almost voted president twice during the terror war depression boom of the 2000s. Dick Cheney was nominally vice president, but in reality, he was the shot caller. Since his retirement from public life, W's been pursuing his goal of being the worst artist who ever held office since Hitler. His portraits of world leaders he has met are a tribute to the primitive school of art brut, or outsider art, usually meaning art made by people from without the art world, such as children or mental patients. Cheney's house in Wyoming is filled with trophies and war crime memorabilia. We'd pitch up as an honor guard with a band, uniforms and everything. We'd perform a number on the lawn and ask to use the facilities. On our way to the loo, we'd steal the Putin portrait off the refrigerator and drive like fury. We can be at the Devil's Tower, non-ironic, before noon, and then freedom. Win-win. Chance of success, like winning a war in Afghanistan. Oh, golly, that one must have really hurt. Walk it the fuck off, Google person. But so you get the idea on the art theft chapter. Really, if that was harsh for you, what's the daily world like in New York for you? This isn't the sweetest city in the world. Any other questions? And then I think, I don't know how long this goes. Then we're going to sign books and shit like that. Oh, Jesus Christ. Ever sneak up on me like that again? Yes, sir. What's your name?
So you mentioned poetry. And as like probably much of this audience, I'm an engineer, and I've really never got poetry. Like I've attempted. It's like jazz. It's too beyond me. I just don't get it.
Right.
Can you help me?
Yes, of course. You're exactly the kind of individual that this is aimed at. I realize that the demands of work and making a living and just surviving preclude a lot of poetry in people's lives. And that's why I think there's poetry in everything, right? Like inside your phone, of course, all your imaginary friends live and all the pretend people that you think you know. But if you look up in the sky, there's a moon almost every night, and stars and wind, and like you look around New York and then, oh, look, a giant rat, and like, I wonder where that rat's going, and then you think about, oh, the rat's going to the subway, and then inside the subway there's filth and whatnot, and like, look at the filth, how it forms little swirls. So there's poetry really in everything. You see flowers when you're in New York. People have planted flowers in flower boxes, or you go to Union Square, and like the other day I saw a dude dancing to Rock With You by Michael Jackson in front of the statue of George Washington. And so he's found his own poetry right here in this giant-ass ghetto that is New York and shit. You may remember the movie. Did you ever see the movie Willy Wonka? Not the Johnny Depp one where he's a pervert, but the Gene Wilder one.
Yes.
You saw that one, right? And you remember they're licking the wallpaper, and he goes, The raspberries taste like raspberries. The snozberries taste like snozberries. And the little horrible rich girl goes, there's no such thing as a snozberry. And he grabs her face and he goes, we are the music makers. And we are the dreamers of dreams. Wandering by lone sea breakers or sitting by desolate streams. World movers and world forsakers on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems, right? So you have to be a music maker. That's what the world's about. I understand that poetry is bloody hard to get your mind around. I don't know if this has helped you at all. I'm trying to find a poem in here that, there's a poem in here that is so bloody long that Matthew, the editor, was like, you've got to write a long intro to this because this poem takes for fucking ever. So this was my suggestion. It's William Blake. Now, William Blake, sit down, young lady. I'm going to come to your cubicle and then fucking stand there and then leave. Wow, I guess there's something more exciting going on in the Google building. Like an endless series of numbers at the Matrix that she has to get back to at her fucking console.
The Albanian president is here today.
Who is?
The Albanian president.
Really? Again? I can't shake that son of a bitch. Everywhere I've been in New York, there's been a Balkan leader tagging on me. I had the defense minister of FIROM 2 days ago at my show. I've been to Albania, and trust me, the Balkans are rough going. There's no dogs. Why, Greg? Because there's so much unexploded ordnance in the ground from their giant war that you don't see any fucking animals anywhere. I just thought I'd add that note of poetry, was it we were talking about? So you're telling me that young lady split in the middle of a presentation during the lunch hour to go meet the president of Albania? No, you're just suggesting that he was here. I don't even know what his name is. Do we know what his name is? Albania had a king up until the 40s, and his name was Zog. And he was played by Terrence Stamp in the Superman movie. King Zog is such a great name. I'm thinking of changing my name. William Blake, or as they say in the movie Bull Durham, William Blake. William Blake? William Blake! William Blake saw God when he was 4. He had amazing hallucinations. At 10, he announced he was going to be a painter. He took up poetry. One of his assignments was to sketch the tombstones at Westminster Abbey. He was a real free thinker. He wrote much about it, and he he rolled with Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense that helped us overthrow the British. And Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft was Mary Shelley's mother, and she was a feminist from the 18th century. Blake was working on illustrations for Dante's Divine Comedy. Let's see here. This joint is lengthy, but it rhymes, and you have to bend some of the words to make them rhyme. I suggest the William Blake cocktail. 2 ounces of anything hard, wave your hand over the glass, gaze at the heavens, and swallow all at once. You may remember, I won't read the whole thing because it's really long, but I'll read you a couple of lines. To see a world in a grain of sand, and heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. Now, we've already experienced eternity in an hour just now. So I think you can understand where that one's coming from. And this is the one that I always think about when I think about America and the way we're inching toward oblivion by ignoring that there's poor people in this country. If I can find the bloody line there. Well, this is the line that you hear often from William Blake. Every day, every morn and every night, some are born to sweet delight. Some are born to sweet delight. Some are born to endless night. We are led to believe a lie when we see not through the eye, which was born in a night to perish in a night, when the soul slept in beams of light. God appears and God is light to those poor souls who dwell in night, but does a human form display to those who dwell in realms of day. The one that I always remember is the dog starved at the master's gate predicts the ruin of the state. I don't know if that helps you at all, but thank you. Well, you're sat down now and you've disappeared. Thank you for asking that question about poetry. Yes, aren't you the person who brought me here?
I am, but I also have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously you're at Google, and you're obviously not very opinionated.
No.
But, I wanted to get your opinion on what you might tell engineers who are here who have helped you write the book. What's your favorite Google product? Who has helped you write the book? What has helped you publish the book here? Let's bring this back to the book.
Your question makes no sense at all, and I appreciate that. I did use a computer when I was writing the book, but I didn't use Wikipedia or anything like that. I used other books as resources, and I also went on websites specific to the people that I was studying, and not Wikipedia. I find is erroneous. How do I know so? Because I have a Wikipedia page of my minor fame, and it has everything wrong about me. And I had a web friend who was a web expert, and I gave him an actual bio that put all the facts straight on it. And he submitted it to Wikipedia, and they rejected it and gave it back and went, no, we don't want that bio. And I'm like, but I wrote it, and it's my life, and I know what happened. And they're like, this is what happened. So that's why I didn't use Wikipedia. I also have Gmail. If you wish to write me, it's fanmail4greg@gmail.com. And I ask everyone who writes me on my Gmail to say hello to the NSA, because it's almost certain that the NSA is collecting that data. And so people write very funny things like, go fuck yourself, and NSA, I fucked your mom. Yeah, exactly. Like the NSA has a mom, which I love. But I think it's a very useful tool, the search engine and whatnot. I also find books are a dandy resource, and that people are often a good resource. They're not a factual resource, because people say things like, I think I read this somewhere, or I might have heard this somewhere. So that's why I wrote this book, so that you can go, I read it in Greg Proops' book. And I say, you can say to your friends, I read it here, and it's on page whatever or whatever. But I do appreciate that they're engineers, because I couldn't do your job. A lot of people go, how can you be a stand-up comic? And it's easy. You just have to have an unlimited ego and no sense of embarrassment. I could never get on stage, and I'm always like, good, there's too many of us. Stay off the fucking stage. And I could never be an engineer, because I can never focus, and I have no ability at math whatsoever, and my ADD precludes sitting in one place for a long time. I worked in a law office for several years as a schmendrick, and thank you for the Jews in the house. And I didn't like it. This was in the 80s, and there was no computers then. There were word processors and fax machines, and I used to make jewelry out of paper clips, and I remember being so bored and hateful at my job at one point, I laid on the floor and pretended I was dead for maybe 45 minutes, and no one walked into the cubicle. So it might have been the saddest part of my life. I was like, I am going to show them how this job is destroying my soul, and I laid on the floor, and no one fucking came in. Finally, I got up off the floor, dusted myself off, put my paperclip jewelry on, and went back to my job of putting toner in the copy machine. So, but I'm appreciative that you've come out, and that is everyone here an engineer? No.
Advertising also, which is awesome.
I understand. I am, of course, advertising my book, so I cannot gainsay you in any way right now. And from the position I'm standing in, selling my wares, as it were, there's no way I can diminish you working in advertising. Later, of course, on the comedy club stage, yes. But here and now, not so much. Does that answer your question at all?
Yes. Yeah.
I own a computer, and I own a phone, so, hey. I got Netflix and shit. I'm down with the kids. I'm wired in. I don't know that I have a favorite Google product. The word Google is kind of exciting. It's an infinite, thing. Googleplex and all that. Thank you. What's your question, sir?
My question is that I've never seen comedians laugh to their jokes or even laugh at all.
You didn't know it?
I've never seen comedians laugh at all, like to their jokes, or even when you laugh, like done, or ha done, right? And everybody else is laughing. Like, how does that feel to you? Is there any joke and is that taught as to comedians? As hey, you're going to be a comedian, never laugh.
Oh no,
are there any jokes that you have really laughed and banged your tummy and on the floor? We would like to hear about those jokes rather than those jokes which you have made others laugh. What are the jokes that have made you laugh? I've never seen you laugh.
We do laugh. We do laugh. Mostly, I laugh at lots of people's jokes. My wife's very funny, and I laugh at lots of comedians' jokes. But in general, no. The joke is about comedians. A comic will be on stage killing, and the other comedians turn to each other and go, "That's funny." But like, you guys are engineers. When someone comes up with a Leviathan calculation that solves some sort of equation, does everyone gather around and fucking do a lap of honor and shit? No. You just nod sagely at one another and go, "Yes, you've certainly cracked that one open." So it's because we're in the profession of laughter that we don't necessarily get all giggly all the time. We're a little more judicious and professional and assaying what the other person has said. Having said that, I laugh at lots of different jokes, and I have lots of favorite comedians. I was quoting a Mark Maron joke last night where he said, because we're talking about the podcasting, and right now we're able to say whatever we want, but soon the government will get hip to the fact that we're talking seditious smack and try to shut us down. Someone at the FCC will be assigned to listen to podcasts, and they're going to have an enormous job of sifting through Chris Hardwick talking about The Walking Dead for 1,000 years and finding what's wrong with that. And Mark Maron's joke was, if there is an FBI agent assigned to me, he's the saddest FBI agent in the whole agency. Subject got up in the morning, masturbated, and then cried for several hours. Yes, I slapped my thigh as well. That one really made me laugh when I heard it the first time. Bill Hicks always has lots of jokes that really make me laugh out loud. One of my favorites is he has these jokes about Jesus. He goes, "I think if Jesus came back, he'd really want to see everyone wearing a crucifix. It'd be like walking around with a gun around your neck and you see Jackie Kennedy and you go, just thinking about John, right?" And he goes, so these are Bill Hicks jokes, not mine. And God bless Bill Hicks, he's gone now. But so he goes, I'm doing these jokes one night at a bar in Texas, and these rednecks come up to me, and they go, "Hey, come here," boom. And he goes, "Why do people always push you away when they say come here, right? Hey, come here, boom. We're Christians, and we didn't like what you said about Jesus, and we're gonna kick your ass." And he goes, "Well, if you're Christians, forgive me." And that joke I thought was hysterically funny. That one made me laugh out loud. Because it's a profound joke about Christianity. And what is it, the one about anti-abortionists? If you're so pro-life, why don't you go all the way and lock arms around a cemetery? No one fucking dies on our watch, you know. George Carlin had one, too, that made me cry laughing. He goes, "What is this with Dan Aykroyd and all these middle-aged white guys opening the House of Blues?" He says, "White people have to understand, we're not here to sing the blues. We're here to give people the blues." So those are the kind of jokes. That made me, what was Lily Tomlin's one? Lily Tomlin said, "When I was young, I wanted to be somebody. Now I realize I should have been more specific." I'm getting a lot of mileage off other geniuses' jokes that aren't mine. This is fantastic. Just reciting shit I've remembered. Thank you for your question. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. No women want to ask anything. All right, whatever. Yes.
A technical question. When you're doing the song improv, you get up there and you have you get the topic, you have 10 seconds to come up with a verse that rhymes. Is there a technique? I just think that's impossible. I don't know how to do that.
It's not, because we've done it a long time. We've all worked together for 1,000 years, and your brain just tries to click into gear. My friend Jeff Davis always says, say the first thing that comes into your mind, because that's usually the funniest thing. The rhyming part is a little difficult occasionally. I mean, with Wayne Brady, he's extraordinary, and he can make up anything right then and there. He's not goofing around. And we don't edit it out. Like people go, oh, you guys couldn't possibly make it up the way you do. Not only do we do it, we get 4 or 5 shows out of a 2-hour taping. We play maybe 25 games, and then the rest of it's camera in and out. That's all it is. So the editing, right? So that we can, the show is modular. So whatever bit we do, whatever improv we do, can be put with whatever, any bit from any other part of the show, right? So that you could put a whole bunch of shows together. So there's always Aisha going, when we come back, this, now there's this, now there's this. So that's how we make the show, like that format, right? So we spend more time getting up and standing up and going back and sitting down than we do improvising so that the show can be put together in any particular order that they need to put it together in. Having said that, we rarely throw anything away. Or once in a while there's a miscue or someone says fuck or something, and then they stop camera. And that's how, if I can't think of anything and we're doing a hoedown or one of those awful fucking things. By the way, hoedown's our least favorite. And I'm not the only one. We were playing in Alberta, Canada the other night, and someone yelled hoedown out from the audience, and Ryan Stiles went, I got your hoedown right here, right? Like, Ryan hates the fucking hoedown. But that's how if I can't think of anything and I freak out and I don't have a rhyme, I'll go, I fucking, and they go, cut. And then you get to go back and go, right. What rhymes with wedge? And then come back out and give it another go. So we're doing it off the top of our head, and we're doing it in real time. And nothing gets cut out of the improvs and ends up on the floor. They're not cutting the improvs together to make them look like we're improvising them. We really are improvising them all the time. And I'm not just saying it. We've been doing it for 100 years. I've been on the show for, we started 25 years ago when I was 11. And it's a science, you know what I mean? Like our producer is a scientist. He's made this show, this modular thing that can be put in with different building blocks, this. So the reason why I think me and Ryan and Colin and Wayne and Brad and whomever are still on it after 25 years is that it's difficult to find people who can play that way. Our producer is an extremely nervous individual, and we add new people to the cast every once in a while, but you have to be able to go like that, right? It's a Shark Tank. We're supportive, we're not mean, we don't cut each other off at the knees, but we bounce past backwards with our eyes closed, and like the Lakers of the 80s, and the Lakers are that's a sports team. Sports are... Well, anyway, so that's how that works. I don't know how I can describe to you the mental process of being able to think of a rhyme immediately. But I know when I'm playing with Jeff on stage and we have to sing a song together, and they go, "Oh, this was a country western classic, and it's all about teachers, and it's called I Love You and Your Apple." And like he'd go to me, just get out there and go, "School, school, taught me not to be a fool," or whatever, you know, like that's it. You just jump right in, and then hopefully something happens in your mind and you're able to think of it, and you have to be confident free-falling. Keith Johnstone, who is a guru of improv, said that improv is walking backwards down a road because you only know where you've been, right? So you're like this all the time. I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I've been, and so that's how we kind of approach it. And every scene in the world is about status. So when you walk into a scene and there's someone in there, are you higher than them? Are you lower than them? Are you their mother? Are you their father? Are you their son? Are you their employee? Are you their, right? So that's how every interaction works. And if you don't think so, when you walk back to where you're going to work today, the first person that you meet, think about that. The first person you run into, are you an equal with them? Are you above them? Are you below? You know what I mean? And I don't mean economically. I just mean socially, like humanly. If you walk by someone and they're cleaning the floor, do you stop and help them clean the floor? No, you fucking don't. Because that's their job and da-da-da-da. And if you walk by and your boss walks by, do you go, "Hey, fuck you, I'm sick of it"? No, you don't, because they're your boss. You go, "Hi, good morning, Mr. Gunderson. And what a lovely day today. And what a lovely corporate mantle you're wearing." And shit like that. So I hope I haven't told you too much. Talking about improv is like watching hot dogs get made. It's icky. Thank you, sir. And that's it.
Can I ask one?
Not one woman. Oh, hi, you're back.
I'm back. Do you have a favorite improv game?
Well, I like the film and theater styles because you get to change genres, but we don't do that one much anymore. They tend to do a lot of that. We're still doing weird newscasters. The one that makes me laugh the hardest is the dating one. We're still doing the dating one, and I'm always the woman. So I'm always like, Bachelor number 2, if I was steamed broccoli, what would you pour all over me? You know, and like, we've been doing this for fucking 25 years, and the audience cries laughing every time, and you're like, surely you figured this one out. And then it'll be like, Colin will be like, thinks he's inside a sandwich, or, you know, whatever fucking nonsense they've come up with, and then, you know, and the place is fucking falling apart, and I'm always like, Jesus Christ, surely this joke's done. But it never is, so that's the infinity of improv.
You've shamed me into this.
Hello, darling.
Hello. As a human and as a person, I truly appreciate all your comments on feminism. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But I'm wondering, as you go out into the world and as you're meeting so many people and doing things like this, how does the feminism play in those jokes and in the rooms? How does it play in person?
Better than it always has, I think. People are more involved now, more enlightened. And the guys that are resistant to it and are upset by it tend to be a little quieter now because they can catch the overwhelming drift in the wind. Having said that, I was in Boston several weeks ago, which is a small inferior city near here. And the Bostonians on the night we did the podcast, they were lovely. I received more poetry books than any gig I've ever done. I mean, 12 poetry books. And no one would let me move. They surrounded me and were pressing poetry books on me and marijuana, and it was fantastic. And then the stand-up weekend came, and it was people who didn't know why they were there. They didn't come to see me in particular. They just came to see comedy, or because, you know, they'd run out of roofies, whatever the situation was. And so they were there, and a lot of couples, you know, whatnot. And the guys of Boston tend to be a little unevolved. If I can generalize. I'm not saying everyone in Boston. Well, what about Harvard and Cambridge and all that? No one who goes to Harvard and Cambridge comes to this club, I assure you of that. And if they do, they're in charge of, you know, like lethargy at Harvard. Indifference. I teach indifference. I'm in the, so I was doing this bit about the woman dreamed the universe into existence and all that. And I did a lengthy bit about guys yelling at women from cars and how every woman in the world is familiar with the experience of you're carrying your laundry in a basket and all you want to do is get to the laundromat and a truck pulls up and a guy goes, no chance, you know, and all that. And the guy in the back yells out, what are you, a woman? That was his heckle.
Nice.
And it was like, wow, what are you, unempathetic? I didn't even respond to it because I've never heard anything. I mean, I really expected to see a club in his hand and a unibrow. You know what I mean? Like, yes. If that's your heckle, what do you do at night? Oh, right, you draw bison on a wall and reenact the hunt. So occasionally I do run into it. Here's something along that line that you may find interesting, and it'll be the first thing in today's talk. I'm joking, of course. Talking about the dominant paradigm of the United States and that the rich are taking all the money and that billionaires are the 1% and the 0.1% of the 1% is taking all the money and that the rest of us are left to scrabble. If I introduced that on television or in a radio interview or in a print interview 5 years ago, I would be contested on it. People would go, no, that's not how the world works. And now no one ever does. And I think it's a function of what's happened in the last 8 years, the end of the Cheney administration, and what happened when Romney ran, and Romney got caught out saying, you know, there's people that think they're entitled to food. That was a very big moment in American society, and I think a lot of people, like for instance, you guys are New Yorkers, Hurricane Sandy hit, and everyone in New York and New Jersey came out and voted for Obama in that last election. And because people recognized with Mitt Romney, maybe he wasn't an innately evil individual, but he was a billionaire defending the interests of billionaires. And when he said, and they said to him, well, what about the women? And he went, I got binders full of women. That was exactly the wrong thing to say.
Absolutely.
To 50% of the population, what do you mean I'm in a binder? That's how you look at me? And so they give glimpses all the time, the dominant class, of where they're coming from. And when they do, it informs everybody. So gradually, to answer your question in a long-winded way, I think it's eroding. And that, yeah, there's lots of unreconstructed guys who want hot chicks and they want the Swedish bikini team and they want to watch football and they don't care that football's an unpoliced group of corporate zillionaires who've got these big behemoths out there beating each other to death when they don't do anything for them or deal with sexual assault and all that shit, and they can look the other way because it's entertainment. But So that I hope that answers your question. It's getting better and better all the time, and the preponderance of dominant female comedians is making the playing field awesome. Now there's Amy Schumer and Amy Poehler and everyone named Amy and all my friends, Jen Kirkman and Margaret Cho, and you know, it's just fantastic. When I first started when TV was powered by steam, there wasn't as like you'd go to do a weekend at a club, and it was sure to be you and two other guys, always, and usually two other white guys. And now it's not always that way. You often find there's as many women as men. Even Whose Line, which is the most recherché, you know, retro show in the world, where 4 men pretend to be women with each other because there's no women in the cast. They've been putting more women in, and now sometimes there's an equal number of black people and white people on the show, and an equal number of men and women on the show, which there never was on the old one. It was just white guys, and not even that many Jews. Let's be fucking honest. It was for a comedy show with no Jews. Wow, how did you even engineer that? You know. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, darling. What's your name?
My name is Molly.
Hi, Molly.
And I'm really into your outspoken feminism as well.
Thank you.
You're clearly an improv, and I find this problem. I'm walking down the street, I walk past somebody, and they're like, "Damn, girl," and then 15 paces later, I'm like, what should I say back? I'm too late. Do you have something improv style that I could just have at the ready? You know, just to say that.
You mean
as they harass me, I afterwards am like, what should I have said? You know, how can I let them know that it's unacceptable, inappropriate, I'm annoyed, and that they're coming off like a fool, but it's always too late. And then I think of like a million things after.
So, what are the things you think of after?
You know, I want to stop them and be like, excuse me, what's your name? You know, does that work? Why did you do that? Was I doing something that made you think that I wanted to hear what you thought?
Right.
You know, but it's even that's kind of scary to do when you're like in this, you know, not always warm city. You don't want to stop them and engage them because what if they punch you in the face?
Well, that's what my first thought was that.
Yeah.
It depends on who's yelling it out. That I would be leery of even stopping and
Usually
engaging with some of these.
Large, older men would be, the demographic.
Sadly.
Yeah.
My generation's going to die off soon, and it's going to be so great. I can't wait for Dick Cheney's generation to die off, and then when they die off, it'll be better. But then when we die off, it'll be even better. Because I really believe young people are not going to care about gay marriage or medical marijuana or abortion or any of that shit. That's all going to be a non-issue, this big heel-dragging thing. The first thing I would yell back at a guy is like, "Oh, I didn't know you were gay." And that's, of course, homophobic. But then you can say,
I don't want to play that angle.
I was going to yell something at you, but you're so inconceivably ugly that my tongue was tied. Or you could yell back at them, "Wow, that was like Oscar Wildean and its wit. I defer to you, sir." Or you could stop and go, "What did you just yell, you warlock? How did you know the incantation that opens up the pink and perfect cave of mystery?" Or,
but none of these are telling them that it's
"Hey, James
inappropriate.
Bond. Hey, James Bond, where'd you get that savoir-faire?" Men really feel the need to let women know that they think they're hot or whatever.
Sometimes I think it's like not even that. Like I'm in gym clothes.
Oh, it doesn't matter what women are wearing.
I mean, and I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm looking this way, and I just want to go to work and be left alone.
Well, I say this on stage all the time, and I swear to God, men in the audience are like, "What?" Half the audience is still at the point of, "Well, I don't know what you mean, man." And like, "Yeah, you fucking do." And I always say to men, like, never mind your sister, your mother, your wife, your girlfriend, your aunt, your grandmother, all the women in your life that you should relate to, that you love. How about you? How about you? Ever thought of yourself in another person's place? Empathy? If you were a woman and you knew this was happening constantly, and now we have incontrovertible evidence that it is happening all the time, that maybe you might reconsider yelling out. And then maybe if you're with other guys that yell out and act like that, maybe you might remonstrate with them and say, "Hey, dude, you're being a major douchewad." Yeah, no, it doesn't matter what women look like, and it doesn't matter what they're wearing. They get the same thing. You could be wearing sweatpants and that's my joke with the laundry. You're wearing sweatpants and you have a do-rag on your head because you haven't washed your hair. And that's when someone yells out, you know. Believe me, women get it all the time. Well, I hope those suggestions helped you at all.
I love them, yeah.
The other thing you could do is go, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that.
I didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear it. What's up? Oh, look what I found. It's for you. Or, is your voice so loud because your dick is so small? That's the one. I think we're about done here. We've gone to 2:07, and I think we're going to do books. Is that what we're doing now, signing books? Yep. Well, if anyone wants to buy a book, I thank you. In any case, I thank you all very much for coming out. I thank you for spending the time, except for the girl who split halfway through. And I thank you for coming out and watching me. I really do appreciate your attention. And I'm sure this is being broadcast all over the infinite universe, and everyone's going to be like, I didn't realize he was that profane. But in any case, if you want to buy the book, I'll be over there sitting, and I'm happy to take a picture with you and sign it for you and all that jazz. And thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.